I the asshole for ruining my family because I refuse to stop sleeping with my husband? I, 43 female, live with my husband, 45 male, in a joint family setup. We live with our kids, A, 16, and N, 10. We also live with my brother-in-law and his son, 10, and my mother-in-law. Brother-in-law's wife passed away during childbirth. Last week, my mother-in-law came up to me one morning and told me that she had woken up to get water when she walked by my bedroom and said she heard my husband and I having sex. She said that it was inappropriate for me to be engaging in these kinds of things as a woman of my age, and that I should focus on being a mother. I was mortified, so I quickly agreed to not have sex. 2 days later, she came back to me and said that she heard us again, so now she wants me to sleep in her bedroom. She says that it is how it should be, as she and my father-in-law also slept in separate rooms until his passing. I thought she was joking, but she came back at night and asked me to come to her room. It was 1 a.m. and she was starting to yell, so I agreed to go, despite my husband protesting. The next morning, I was in the kitchen when my husband came in. We were both annoyed when my brother-in-law walked in. He asked why I was sleeping in his mother's room, as brother-in-law had walked in the morning when he came to give her meds. I was a little hesitant, but my husband told him we were engaging in marital relations, but tried telling it to him through subtle hints. My brother-in-law was a bit confused and wanted clarification when my mother-in-law walked in. My brother-in-law asked her, and she said that it was because we were being dirty. I was angry and told her it was normal when she started going off about how we were immature, and she ended up calling me a whore in our language. I was furious, and before I could say anything, my husband stepped in and started telling his mother to calm down. But this is when his brother stepped in, and he agreed that a woman like me, who was a mother, should not be lusting over a man, and my husband lost it and went off and told him that he was just being crazy. Brother-in-law tried saying that his wife and him never did things like this, and the only reason they ever did it was to have a child. He said that if she were alive, they would also keep their distance. This is when my husband snapped and told me that he was the reason his wife died. Now, a little context is that my brother-in-law's wife was pregnant 4 times before having their son, but all of those times brother-in-law made her abort until she had a son. But due to this, she was too weak and passed away. Brother-in-law was extremely hurt and left the room. My mother-in-law said that it was all my fault, and she told my husband that he was a shameless man and a bad father. My husband and I are thinking about moving out. We aren't sure how to tell our kids this. My brother-in-law's wife's parents called us as brother-in-law moved there, and they're saying we are assholes for being vulgar, and it was not okay for us to be doing this. They think that we are all assholes for snapping at my brother-in-law and accusing him of those things. They also said we're the assholes for not listening to mother-in-law. My parents and brother think that this is healthy for us, and they are saying that mother-in-law and brother-in-law are the assholes for interfering in our marriage. So, am I the asshole?
Holy, this is so fucking fucked. Title is, Old Guy Walked Into My Tech Store and Asked for Help with Looking at Porn.
No.
I work at a store that deals with technology. I won't be specific, but it's a pretty big store, and a family store with things for kids to play with and little classes for them. We do sales, repairs, so we're pretty full service and often busy and crowded. The other day, I was approached by a coworker with a question about the parental controls on a device. I'm one of the people who is very familiar with software and interfaces, and parental controls are one of my knowledge points that a lot of younger workers aren't familiar with. So this wasn't unusual. The questions centered around removing them. My coworker asked if I could take over, and I said okay. This was all very normal, right up until he said, quote, "It's this old guy. He wants to watch porn." That got the requisite "what the fuck" look from me, and my coworker stifled a laugh. "Thanks for dealing with it," he said. I kind of shrugged. I mean, I like porn. I'm not shy about browsing it, and that people have needs. I had no problem handling it, though I bet other coworkers might say I should have just sent him to the manager to get politely declined service for that subject. He takes me over and introduces me to this very old man. He looks like he might have Parkinson's, with the tremor in his hand. His iPad is also very old, as was the software on it. I could tell at a glance that his system had a version from before 2013. Because I'm a nerd, I can tell these things at a glance. His iPad would not even be compatible with newer systems. The old man didn't say anything about porn, but he said that his grandkids had been over and he thought they did something to his iPad because it wasn't working like normal. He said he thought that they had set some parental controls to block stuff so kids can't see it. I smiled and sighed and began to tell him the usual speech about how parental controls work and how we would need the passcode if one was set up. And if he didn't have it, it would require deleting the device and beginning without a backup to get things working again. His iPad didn't appear to have much on it, but when I got to the settings, I was surprised to find that there was no parental controls turned on. I stopped and I let him know that there appeared to be no controls or limits set. I turned them on and off just in case. I had to ask him, quote, so what wasn't working? I was starting to worry it might be a software incompatibility due to new web standards, and that his old iPad might not be able to be updated to match them. Internally, I did not want to have that conversation. People his age were often on fixed incomes and could not afford to get a new device. He began trembling again, saying, I'm 93, he
Oh
said.
my God.
My wife died. I have nothing left. And the videos I'd watch, they aren't working anymore. He took the iPad and started to go to a web page. I go to XXX. The images are there, but when I... ... I stopped him. Quote, Sir, our Wi-Fi blocks that, I said. I remembered using that site myself. It was one of the regular sites I'd go to for many years. He nodded and closed his eyes. Please, I don't have anyone. I just need something.
No.
I was struck. It stopped being funny. He was so fucking lonely, and the videos he watched online were important to him. I could see it in his eyes. It was something he needed to just keep existing. And I could see just how ashamed he was to come in with such a subject and a need, but his loneliness was too much for his shame. He was practically in tears. I acted like what I did next was a big decision, because I thought I had to put on the act, even though it was a quick decision for me. I pulled out my phone, I turned on the hotspot, and I put his iPad onto my phone's Wi-Fi. This would bypass the content restrictions our Wi-Fi had. He thankfully had a cover on the iPad. I held it at a low angle and positioned it so we could see, but hopefully there would be a little chance for anyone else to see. I typed in the XXX website. The porn site came up, and I kept furtively looking over my shoulder. He said, This is how it comes up, but when you tap, it doesn't play anything. So I tapped. While the page changed, I remembered to turn down the volume, and I did. The video came up and started playing. A-okay, no problem. He began to say it wouldn't do that at home, but still started thanking me. Still, I wasn't satisfied. If there's a bug, and it works sometimes but not others, it's not fixed. It's just a clue to find it. I tried other videos and they all worked. I closed the webpage and the iPad. He looked so thankful. I told him I didn't do anything, so I wasn't sure it was fixed. I considered that maybe his kids, the grandkids' parents, had put parental blocks up on his own ISP, but they'd blocked the entire site, not the vids. I told him to try it at home again. I didn't know why it hadn't worked, but at least we'd proven that his iPad could play them. He left, and even as I told him that I wasn't sure we could help any further, he kept thanking me. I just stood there for a moment, and then I started tearing up and had to leave the sales floor. It struck me how lonely he was, how the porn was one of his only ways of just having a moment of satisfaction. I felt that hard. I'm serially single. I'm very lonely, and porn is my escape. And I'm just 42. I realized the state he was in. That's something that is likely coming, for all of us. I know that a lot of my coworkers would laugh at the guy, the pervert coming in, needing his porn. But I felt sad. Sad for him, sad for all of us. I know that loneliness. It's waiting for all of us. I don't know if there's a moral here. I just thought I should share. And please, I know porn is something we laugh about and make fun of, and it's deserving of that. But sometimes, let's just take away the shame of it. You're lucky if you don't need it to get those little moments. Don't take it for granted. And allow whatever moments others have, however they get them, without shame or looking down.
Damn. You got me out here being emotional. Jesus. What the hell? Okay, this was sad. I hope his porn is working.
One of the top comments, great, now I'm crying over some guy crying over porn.